Welcome to Tao Living, the Art of Living podcast with your host, Lou Corletto, where you will be supported to remember that you are the driver and not the vehicle, so that you can walk your life in trust. Melanie Curtis is a leader and known voice in skydiving and personal and professional development. She's an author, podcast host, and professional skydiver. She's got over 12,000 jumps to her credit. She's been tapped as an expert in Forbes, Fast Company, Thrive Global, on CBS Evening News, CBS Sunday Morning, NBC Know Your Value, Masters of Scale, and more. Melanie is a sought-after speaker and consultant, teaching techniques of peak performance, teamwork, and being brave is our access to being free. Melanie also co-founded Highlight, an all-female professional demonstration jump team. Highlight, whose mission is to inspire women and girls to live bold, brave lives of their own design, elevate gender equality, and motivate social impact. Quite frankly, Mel's a badass. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me and welcome my next guest, Melanie Curtis. Ladies and gentlemen, as you just heard in the introduction, this amazing soul who happens to be packaged in a beautiful vehicle, Melanie Curtis. So first of all, Mel, thanks so much for taking your time to be with us on the show today. Really appreciate that.
Lou, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. It's been so long, and it's just, I love all that you're up to and just grateful to be here.
Thank you. So something, I don't know if you, which you might not, but I won't make an assumption. How we first met.
Yeah.
So I'm a fledgling skydiver. I was at an event that you were one of the load organizers, right?
Yep.
Skydive Carolina.
Yep.
And so for the listening audience, right? So I'm just about to make my 300th jump. Melanie's probably at this point got 10,000. I don't know. And somehow it came about. So some of the other people that I knew that were, world class, I happened to be working on them on the table. And they introduced me to Mel. It worked out. Mel trusted. We got on the table, right? So the next day, she comes up and says, "Hey, I want to jump with you on your 300th jump." And I'm like, "What? Right? I'm like, I can barely fly. Like, what's going on?" So it comes out that there was 6 of us that went up in the Casa. So this is a big airplane with a tail that, that opens in the back. And we run out and we fly together and, grab hands and we sit and it pulls off, right? Because I'm looking around this circle. There's a world champion, national champions, and this kid with 300 jumps, yes. Right? And I'm like shaking at the knees and it pulls off, right? Anyway, so I'm sharing that with the listening audience because of one, it just shows for me the depth that you play in the sense of here's this world champion, but did not forget where she came from. And is willing to play in the spectrum, not just with the black belts, but plays with the white belts as well, right?
Absolutely.
I'm like, wow, this is a really good human being, right? So that was my first introduction with you, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you for that. It was beautiful. Mm-hmm. Now, fast forwarding years later, so ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, some of it wasn't in the bio. Mel just set another world record with 79 other world-class women, mm-hmm. right? So 80 women from, was it 22 countries?
22 countries, yeah.
80 women from 22 countries got together and to create a formation. Now, how do I paint this picture for those who are not into skydiving, right? Imagine pulling up in 80 different cars, driving at 160 to 180 miles an hour,
yep.
rolling down your windows, putting out your hand, and holding hands in all the cars and they don't crash, right?
Exactly.
Right. So
it's no joke.
Yeah. Right. I mean, so there's multiple
joke.
airplanes and multiple people leaving from multiple airplanes have to fly through the air at these high rates of speeds to get to a formation, a preset design. And you have to be in the exact position to pull off this record. Right. So it requires skills that hence the highest level, right? So these are the best of the best of the best. So first of all, congratulations, right?
Thank you.
What a feat.
Thank you. Well, I can't not go back to how we met and talk about that, because that's very important to me.
Mm,
It's interesting because setting world records is amazing, and there's so much that comes out of that, and that's what we're in now. I'm doing a lot of big media and doing a lot of amplification of the inspiration, so that if our core mission is to inspire women and girls to live bold, brave lives of their own design, which is our mission, that's a very broad thing, right? And yeah, the part of the mission is to increase the representation of women in skydiving. The Women's Skydiving Network is the foundation that funded Project 19 and supports these initiatives to increase that representation of women in the sport. So we definitely care about that, but it matters to be the amplification, right? It's not just, oh, we do a world record and oh, cool, now I'm cooler than I was before. Like, who gives a crap? You know what I mean? Seriously. So for me, it's really all about the people. It's all about the impacting the world in a positive way. And that's why I say I have to touch back to how we met, is that, like, you might have thought I was just like throwing you a bone or whatever as a new kid on the drop zone. But the truth is that I wanted to jump with you
mm,
because I like people and I like to help facilitate those experiences where people's minds can open. So if you have me, this cool kid that was hired to come and work at this event, on a pedestal in your mind, just because you're new to a community, it's totally normal. I did it. Amy Shemalecki, she is the only woman on the Red Bull Air Force. She has 20,000 jumps and is just so wildly accomplished. And she's someone I saw on the magazine covers and looked up to, and this and that and the other. And she's now my business partner, one
mm.
of my very best friends, and my teammate. So it's just like, so much is possible when we bring it back to the human level. And it's this beautiful avenue. Skydiving happens to be the vehicle for inspiration and the
Nice.
vehicle for connection. So I loved our jump.
Yeah.
I love that we
Yeah.
did that. Yes.
Thank you. And so 100% bringing it around to full circle, which was the acknowledgement of the world record. Yes, but that's the avenue, right? That's the cool part. That's not where it stops. That's where it starts, right?
Yeah.
That's a spoke to get this. So let's go there. Like Project 19. When I stop and think about that again, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This is the 23rd, we're in a couple weeks. It's 2023. I was born in the 60s. So 2023 are science fiction numbers, right? Like this is Buzz Lightyear's kind of shit, like 2025, right? I'm like,
Right.
shit, we're there.
I know.
Right? I'm like,
It's totally like, what year is it?
and in 1920, women had to fight for the right to vote. Like, are you kidding me? And we're still in it, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
still in it.
Well, and that's something I thank you for bringing that up, because Project 19. So, what does that mean? That's kind of we kind of love that name because it's kind of cryptic, because it prompts this discussion. It is inspired by the centennial anniversary of the 19th Amendment in the United States, which secured the right to vote for women in this country. Now, I always am a person who, like, I always make a point to also highlight the complex history of that movement, in the sense that, yes, in language, the 19th Amendment secured the right to vote for all women, but really it only secured it for white women.
Right.
There's a lot of work that had to then happen decades long to get even more equitable access to the polls. And we still see exclusion efforts and suppression efforts today around people getting access to the polls, because it is our access to power, because it is our access to changing the laws that govern us. So yeah, that it's a big part of the discussion. And what we want to amplify is, yeah, this broad, brave, sort of bold, brave mission, coupled with, and we briefly touched on this before we started recording, about how do you make change being in the system that you want to change,
Mm.
in the system that's oppressing you, in the system, or so it's a deeper discussion around ideology and how do you raise consciousness inside of this system that is really meant to keep you down. And so when it comes to women, it's one of those things where it sounds kind of, I don't know, maybe cliche, but it's very true for me that part of being bold and brave is stepping into my voice in every way I authentically feel called to do so. And so that can look a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. For me, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker, right? I don't love necessarily always being like the personal brand and all of that. I have struggled with that for 15, 16, 17, whatever years that I've been doing this, but it's the calling
Mm,
of that being how I am uniquely slated in this life to contribute
mm,
is why I do it, is why I torture myself to be a writer and to step into this learning these skill sets of how do I get on a bigger stage? How am I in an interview with CBS Evening News and feel really genuinely authentic and honest and excited about the opportunity to say what really matters versus perfectly execute what the PR team told me to say. You
mhm.
know what I mean? It's a thing.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for that. And so, ladies and gentlemen, right? For everybody listening, is we often get into this. Well, what can I do? I'm just one person. A lot more than you freaking think you can, right?
Yes, amen. It's
Yeah,
true.
100%,
Everyone is a leader.
100%.
Mhm.
And when we look at, depending on whatever calls you, right, whatever you're up against to change, to bring enlightenment to, whatever that call is, because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Um, when you look at the enormity, sometimes that bigness gets so big, then it's overwhelming, and then you take no action, right? That's when we lose, right? We
It's
can,
also normal. I
yeah,
like to
100%,
validate that human experience.
for sure.
There's plenty of things we can do all the time. There's no perfect path. You can't really make a mistake. You know what I mean? It's an interesting driver, this notion of regret and being like, what what must I do? It's sort of a negative like energy drive, but it's an interesting one and one that might help people get unstuck versus always being in the positive energies, which are also really important. So both, I mean, we're talking about what's inspiring me to be
Right.
bold and brave. What am I called toward? That's more of a sort of positive energy, which is wonderful. And then we have this other side of the house where it's like, if I really am honest, if I'm sitting here still, I'm doing this, I know I'm unfulfilled, I don't know what to do. So I don't know how that's why I'm stuck. But those are things where it's like, okay, I'm rolling quickly toward a regret,
Yeah.
toward huge regret.
Nice.
And that might motivate people to, I don't know, start Googling, start brainstorming, hire a life coach or whatever. Like there are avenues to help us out of those things. And I like to really validate how normal it is to feel like we don't know what to do and we don't know how to move forward. And
For
I
sure.
mean, yeah, anyway, I
Yeah.
could go on and on about that, but
Yeah, right. So there's the two pulls, right? We can be pulled by the inspiration or pushed by the motivation, right?
yeah, pushed by
100%.
the pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Matter of fact, yesterday I was teaching a master class called The One Thing. Like, what is the one thing that if I focused on right now would move my life forward, right? Because we have bazillion options, but what's this one thing that would actually be the hinge pin that would open up a lot?
Yep.
And in that, it's a beautiful book by this woman in Australia named Bonnie Ware. She was a hospice nurse and working with all of these folks making their transition. She was watching themes over and over and over again, right? Speaking of regret, the book is called The Five Regrets of the Dying.
Yeah. It's
And
powerful.
yeah, and so she watched these pop and they were in order. And number one is, I wished I would have lived a life true to myself, not one of
Yes.
others expected of me. And
Correct.
this is the model that most of us as humans grow up in
Mm-hmm.
because of family or society or whatever the outward trappings laid upon us. This is how we're supposed to show up. And then we do it so long, we forget that that's not our original rhythm. That's not
Yeah.
our rhythm. That's someone else's view of our life. And
Mm-hmm.
most people get to their deathbed before they discover, oh shit, I didn't live my life.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And that's the thing is that like we don't necessarily even realize we talk about raising consciousness half the time. It's that adage where somebody goes to a fish and is like, oh, the water's nice. And then they leave and the fish goes, what's water?
Yeah.
It's the same thing where we grow up. We don't realize we've been socialized in certain ways. We don't realize our family influence has made us believe certain things that really are not what we would subscribe to if we really reflected. And so that's why I invite people into this experience of themselves that is a reflective one. I'm so glad. So listen, right? This. I've been a life coach for 16 years and it was not cool back then at all.
Yeah.
It's at least kind of cool now, but it was not cool then at all. It was weird. What's a freaking life coach? All this stuff. And I have to say, like, again, it's this idea that when we don't know what to do, there are avenues for us to move forward. And I'm not saying this because I'm trying to pimp myself as a life coach. There's plenty of coaches out there. But the point is, what I'm trying to share is the idea that if you haven't considered yourself or even thought about the idea of being growth minded, I would invite people into that, because when we have a growth mindset, then we're open to say, oh, this weird thing like a life coach. Okay, I'll get one. Oh, I'll try that. Or this online class that someone's hosting, I'll go and take that and see what I learn. And I don't need to learn. And maybe I get something, maybe I don't. But a fixed mindset keeps us really, really stuck in these boxes. And so often it ends up with people feeling deeply unfulfilled and they don't know why. And so that's why, like, consider and Google on growth mindset and start to lean into that for yourselves.
Yeah, 100%. And ladies and gentlemen, that's your natural rhythm, right? It's been trained out of us to show up as run the dream that's a paradigm from someone else, which is not a dream. It's really a personal nightmare because it's someone else's vision of how you're supposed to fit into a mold. And that's not your innate rhythm. At the biological level, cells can do one of two things. They can grow or they can survive. That's it. They can't do both at the same time. And you're just your physical body is a conglomeration of a bunch of cells, right? So you're this cohabitation of this. And most people are in survival. They just don't realize it, right? And so how do we shift into this growth mindset? Because that's life doesn't happen unless you're growing. Quite frankly, you're either growing or dying, because there is no maintenance, right? There is no, I'm just going to hang out, because life is always moving. So if you're hanging out, you're dying because you're not in the dance of the movement and the growth, right?
Yeah.
And so these possibilities for as Melanie said, right? Life, it could. So, all the work from Eric Aronson about peak and peak performance and the talent code. What they've discovered is the way that we do grow is to be in uncomfortable positions, right? That's what puts us there. So whatever that is, hanging out with people that are doing something bigger than you are, skydiving, scuba diving, free diving, writing, right? Sit in a room with authors who have written books and you haven't written a thank you note, right? That level of, so shit, yeah, I'm in a field that's bigger than the one that I'm used to. Great. Yeah. It's not only okay, it's essential to be uncomfortable, because that's where we pop. We get out of the current level of thinking, understanding, protecting. That's the only way we can grow. So
well, and I absolutely. I also, this is an element of that idea, is there's something about the intensity of things that enlivens me personally. And so maybe not everyone's going to be into that or whatever, but I like doing big things. I like when things are hard. I say this a lot, but when I learned this term, I didn't it's like my whole world sort of made sense in a moment. There's two different types of fun. There's type 1 fun, which is it's totally fun while it's happening. You're having a great time and it's just enjoyable and cool and all the things. Type 2 fun is fun. It's only fun when it's over. So it's like, I reflect.
I survived that. That's great.
Like, holy fuck, I got through it. Spartan races, of course, this world record. I mean, people are like, oh my God, it must have been so fun. Or, oh, you're a pro. That wasn't scary for you at all, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Talk about completely managing my fear over the last 3 years, dreading it in so many ways, asking myself time and time again, why am I doing this? What am I doing this for? I don't want to do this, like battling that internal fear voice and continuing to not listen to it, but also to reflect. Like, so it was this constant process of meeting that fear voice
Mhm.
and continuing to check in with my intuition, which always drove me to this knowing that doing this and being in service to this record slash bigger mission that it represented was worth it, was
Mm.
going to be worth it. And it has proven worth it already. I
Yeah.
will never not talk about this, Lou, for the rest of my life. It will forever be a vehicle for me to passionately talk about things that I care about that are going to help other people. So I'm stoked, super stoked. Why I bring that up, though, is that those are versions of experiences, growth experiences we can step into, right? So I didn't my fear and my resistance, right? Like I came out of retirement for this record.
Right.
The last time I did a record was 2013
Yeah.
and it's 2022. And so it's like, it was a big deal for me to decide to do it. Anyway, why I keep going here is that some people, almost have to figure out your style.
Mhm.
And not everyone is going to be wanting such an intense experience, right? But for me, I know that I like that. So even when I'm in the middle of something pretty friggin' torturous, I'm sort of like, yeah, almost excited by that, which is so weird, but like it really for me is. Does that make sense?
Well, 100% because I'm in the same rhythm. Um, I get bored.
Yeah.
If I'm not being challenged like that, I'm bored. And then I'm like, I'm out. I'm done. If
Right.
I'm not being scared, right, because I love finding out where is my where am I hiding,
Yeah.
right? Where am I hiding? So I put myself in these uncomfortable positions to go, who am I now, right?
Totally.
Yeah, because
Totally.
otherwise I'm just bored. Because
Mm-hmm.
we all are, but like you said, each person find the rhythm of what works for them, right?
Yeah.
And so when I got into the world of free diving and breath holding, yeah,
Nice.
it's like, okay, now I'm down 100 and some odd feet under the water on one breath and it's gone, right? You look back up and go, that's a long freaking way. I don't know if I'm going to make it, right?
That is
Um,
so wow.
yeah,
Wow.
but then I'm sitting with people. So like I got to 4.5 minutes of holding my breath and I'm with this guy who's doing 8. And then I went to train with somebody 22. I'm like, that's not possible. You can't hold your
Yeah.
breath for 22 freaking minutes, right? And I'm training with them, right? I'm like,
Wow.
fuck.
Yep.
And how much of it is right. So
Mm-hmm.
like you, years ago I finally developed this process. So for listening audience, like one of the greatest gifts that Mel and I can both give you is have a new relationship to fear,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of, which is mostly how we as people interact with it, it's this big bad monster, and on this side of it is paralysis. I
Mm-hmm.
don't take action because I'm afraid, and on the other side of it is always us at another level.
Yeah.
And so if that's the case, then fear is not a monster. It's a teacher, right? So I've learned and chose to embrace like when it shows up, which it does. And if it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, I'm not growing, right? So
Yep.
back to, okay, how do I put myself where it pops? I'm like, oh, thank you, master. Here's the teacher. And I say, thank you, here I grow again,
Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
I get to embrace this and put on my diapies, right? And go, okay, I'm about to have my ass handed to me. Thank you for the opportunity to find out, right? And it's not always,
Yeah.
I might get up with a bloody nose, but great. Now I know
Yeah.
what requires of next. Yeah.
I love this idea of really honoring and leaning into this relationship with fear
Mm.
and recognizing it as a guide to.
Oh no, did we just freeze? No, that's weird. Huh? That's never happened.
I can
again.
jump right back in.
Yeah, yeah. So how appropriate was that? Because I'm like, wow, she's really in deep contemplation because you were just there. I'm like, she's going into it. I'm like, oh, that's a little too still.
The joys of technology.
What
Yeah, no, but
timing though? What synchronicity? We're talking about
I
freezing on
know
fear and the image, the Zoom freezes. So
but this idea, this changing our relationship to fear and using it as our guide is a powerful frame to bring to it.
mm,
And for me, it's one thing to be doing world records and to be in this waking life and to see the things that we're afraid of and have conscious awareness of them and all of this. And it's quite another when we don't know what the deeper roots are. And so I know that you have done plant medicine work. I have done plant medicine work. I talk about it quite a bit on my podcast, Trust the Journey, with another professional skydiver, spiritual seeker, colleague, friend of ours is Jason Maletsky. Anyway, why I bring that up is that for me, deciding to step into that healing space was because of motivating pain, right? So if I look back at my life experience, and I can certainly see anxieties come up, and in skydiving there's mortal danger, of course that's like obvious, right? It's sort of a surface level almost fear, even though mortal danger and our mortality is super super deep. So I'm not trying to dismiss that in any way, but where I'm going is like, I've had in my relationships a very persistent experience of being anxiously attached and fearing abandonment and fearing that sort of pain of disconnection from people, because I have both things going on. And you see this, right, in how we met. I care about people. For me, it's about the people. So I have this real, genuine, authentic love of people. Concurrently, and I say this I should say had, because I've healed so much of this, by the way, and
right.
I'll say more about that.
The fear of loss of
The
love. Yeah.
fear of loss of love, the fear of rejection, the fear of disconnection, the fear of abandonment, all that stuff. And so for me, I needed to, and I did lots of work around this. I've done a lot of therapy. I've done different kinds of, growth experiences. I've done landmark education. I've done lots of different stuff. And I still could tell I was missing something because I was still having pain and around things that didn't really make sense for me to have as much pain as I still did. And so for me, that led me to plant medicines. And the reason why I wanted to talk about that is because it touches on this intensity. For me,
Mm.
it is terrifying to meet plant medicines, because what they have helped me do is really, really get into the depths of my psyche and my soul and find and pull out those roots of the pain that was still holding me back in my conscious waking life. And
Uh-oh.
it's been critical healing
Mm.
for me, and very, very intense. And I know it's not for everyone, but I wanted to talk about it because I think it's a really, really big part for me of
Yeah.
how I've healed and transcended some of those fears that have held me back for many years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations for your courage to step in and dance with the mother
Thank you.
plant for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, Pachamama. And so,
Yes.
ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen, this conversation is, and so this has been part of my work for 35 years, is
yeah.
how do we
Amazing.
get into the subconsciousness and to the spiritual path of unplugging from the stuff that,
Yeah.
the patterns that are running us, we don't even know that are running us, and causing discord, right? So how do we get these perspectives to do the work? And we've got to get out of ourselves to do that, right? And this is one gift to do so. And the courage of doing that, sure, because you can't get off the bus once you,
Oh, holy. And
yeah, once you
listen,
get on the bus, it's a
it's,
good 10, 12 hour ride and
yeah, and
the work's getting
it's
done.
yeah, and
Yeah,
it's not something certainly I would say is for everyone. I certainly don't promote anything illegal or
right,
anything
right.
like that.
Yeah,
It's more that there are avenues to this healing work that are accessible to us
yeah, yeah.
if it is right for you, but you also have to do your research. I was not ready. And they say that the medicine calls to you when it is time. And that has been very true for me in every single time that I have done work with the medicine.
Yeah.
And especially in the beginning, I've had friends, I know people that have done this work, that do this work, that facilitate this work. And it still took me 4 years
Mhm.
to get to a point where I was ready to do it. And it also took me having a really painful experience that made me go, I'm clearly still missing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am clear and honestly owning
Yeah.
I am missing something that I cannot seem to get to, and I need help.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so that is a powerful moment in our growth path when we're like, we surrender, we submit in a beautiful way to, I need help.
Right.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's so freeing in a way.
For sure. And especially in this conversation about the 19th Amendment and then flipping it to the male ego, right? And that's one of the challenging for the stereotypical male ego is to acknowledge I need help because it's a sign of weakness, right? In the ego, right? It's not, right? It's the greatest form of strength to go, hey, like during ceremony, plant medicine, if for those who have experienced it, I go so deep that I can't use my body. I literally, and then when it's time for purging, I have to have help in order to get me near a place to evacuate, right? Because I can't, my body doesn't function. I go so deep and so profound, I lose physical use of my body, which isn't, it's not a really, anyways, I won't go too deep in my experience, but back to receiving help, right? So on that note, there's something you said.
That's why to do the work only with trusted professionals.
100%.
Trusted professionals. You have to be in a safe space. So all those things, like whatever happens to you, you know that you're going to be safe. That's
or
super,
you won't
super
go there
important.
anyways, right? You won't even let the doors
super
open.
important.
So what we're talking about now, I'd like to kind of frame for everybody listening is whatever avenue you're looking for support. One, for me, I just have I clearly understood what you said. I just have a slightly different take on it's not for everybody. I'd say it's for everybody. Not everybody's ready for it, right?
That's fair.
Meaning I do a lot of work that's for everybody. Not everybody's ready to do it.
That's a great way to frame it.
Yeah.
I actually love that.
And like you do a lot of
big
body of work that's for everybody, but not everybody's ready to come play with Mel, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
such
truly.
a good,
Yeah.
I receive that as a high compliment, Lou.
Yeah, 100%, right? And part of my, like the last couple of years, I've hired somebody who's in conscious messaging to help me only communicate for people. So I'm not causing conflict. Like if somebody shows up in my world, I'm like, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Let's not do this. It's not a good match, right?
Yeah.
So back to the conversation of whatever your avenue is, whatever it is, coaching, breath work, right? Plant medicine, skydiving, like whatever the avenue, to have you have an experience that's outside of yourself. That's where it begins, right? And these things that we're talking about, like the fear, everybody breathe. When this whole motto of live a life without fear, you're like, check a pulse. That's just pure denial. It doesn't exist.
Total denial.
It's ridiculous, right?
So denial. I mean,
no fear.
We are humans. We are human beings. Totally.
You're not growing. If you actually run that motto, you're not growing, or you're lying, one or the other. And bringing it back to something that's more practical, like just your life. How is your relationship? So like this call that I did yesterday, we really dove into what we're tolerating, right?
Nice.
What do we tolerate?
Great question.
In your relationships, first in your own self, right? And your behaviors and the way you think and what you're doing to your body. Like, what are you tolerating? What are you tolerating in your environment? People that are around you that should no longer be around you, right? Love yourself enough to remove yourself from that environment.
Exactly.
Work relationship. If the job is killing you, it's not worth it, right?
Exactly.
Move on.
Exactly.
And these are those pieces of the fear, because that's, I can't. How will I pay rent? Right. So
exactly. Those things are absolutely just as brave, if not more so,
100%.
than jumping out of an airplane.
100%.
And I have vast love and respect, deep love and gratitude for skydiving in my life, because it is absolutely what helped me as a young person open my mind.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. I was one of those people, even though I grew up around skydiving, my dad's a pilot. I have a drop zone literally in my backyard, sat through the first jump course a million times. Skydiving was very present for me. And yet still, my mind was, I could never jump out of this perfectly good airplane, right? You hear that all the time. And so when I jumped, when I landed and I was not dead, I was like, whoa, it really fundamentally altered my psyche, not to be, oh my God, I can do anything, #life coach. But that fear, yeah, the fear, I was like, the fear was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I totally could do that.
Right.
So that it helped me question fear for the rest of my life. It's why I'm an entrepreneur. It's why I'm a writer. It's why I am a spiritual seeker. It's why I'm a deeply committed friend. It's why I consistently pursued my healing around love relationships and all of those things. Like, it is hard work and I'm up for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before I forget this, I want to go back to something else. You mentioned being a male ally and how important that is, and this idea of toxic masculinity, and women's efforts are in parallel with it being in service to men as well, because these societal socialized roles, gender roles, and the binary, and just toxic masculinity and all this stuff is so men commit suicide at 4 times the rate that women do. And I cannot not think that is because men are socialized to not feel their emotions. They're not allowed to be soft. They're not allowed to need help, And so like that is a part of when we elevate women and the feminine, we're also, I think, hopefully being in conversation about softening the masculine. And it's not to take away the amazingness of masculine energy, because I need that in my life. I need amazing male energy in my life. But I also want the men in my life and the men in the world to feel as free as I want to feel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like men are equally oppressed, but in a different way.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent conversation. Oh my gosh.
I know we could go so many places.
Yeah. Like, oh, wow. Right. And right. So again, I'm communicating with Mel, but I'm really speaking to the audience. Right. So
Yeah, fair.
This whole, and it doesn't matter if it's gender or race, like whatever the subcategory is, people don't realize the oppressors suffer more. It's just subtle than the people being oppressed, right? And so that stereotypical white patriarchal oppressors, right, are messed up, right? Years ago, I came across this term, and I believe it was from the Cree tribe, the indigenous folks. And I don't speak Cree, so I'm not enunciating their proper language by any means. So this is my perception of an English translation of the word, which was wetakal, something like that.
Okay.
And loosely translated, what it meant was mental illness. And this is the word they used when they first saw the white people come.
Oh, wow.
Because they've never saw anything in nature take more than it needed. Yeah. Right. So this greed that was there, right? And at that point, completely driven by the white male, right? So it still is, unfortunately, the good old boys club, right? And that's all fear. That's fear. So people need to recognize that is, how can I be me in your presence? Because if I have fear and intimidation that this powerful woman, Mel, is gonna like challenge me, that's all my ego and my fear. I'm not confident in who I am, right? But when I can just show up in me and honor your power, right, then we get to dance, right?
Exactly. And it's like we're not free in those times, you know what I mean? And so I say I do #be brave, #be free all the time, but I mean it. I mean it. About being brave, in my view, is fierce when we're talking about really unpacking what we have come to believe in our lives, really unpacking where we are most uncomfortable, the things that we do not want to look at. Oh, the opportunity in those places, and why I'm such a huge champion of professional help is because we are not taught how to do that. We're not taught how to go there. We're also not meant to live life alone and to struggle alone. And so it's really this wonderful thing. I really love anytime there's a man in my life that I hear is doing therapy or contemplating this idea or read that article or shared this on their Instagram, like any little or big thing, it warms my heart for their freedom, for their healing, and for the impact it's going to make on society. Of course, I feel this way about women and girls as well. So I'm more just talking about it from an allyship perspective, is like, how do we motivate men to be allies, to be in service to women's efforts? It's to understand that it's going to serve you too.
100%. It's the, again, this is like days, right? So I've been involved in deep healing work professionally for over 35 years. And the only thing that's going to bring back balance into this world is the feminine energy, period. And that's not just from women, right?
Yeah.
It's the feminine energy,
exactly.
right? It's the feminine energy. That's not male, female.
Correct.
It's this system's been so out of balance. And so this isn't right now. We have factual evidence for those of us who've been like calling the warning flags for years. The models don't work, ladies and gentlemen, right? They're all crumbling, and they need to. They can't be fixed. And what I mean by models is all the institutions. Banking doesn't work. Healthcare doesn't work. Government doesn't work. Education doesn't work. The way we've been doing it, they don't work. And we need new models. And so the driving force that originally put those in play had a mindset right behind them, and that's what's broken. And so the relinquishing of all of this to let new, healthier models for all involved, right? Oh my goodness! Like, people don't realize that they're not living on a rock, right? They're living on a living entity. And environmental movements are really important, but they don't realize she doesn't really need them, right? Because just like stuff on my body, when it's no longer in alignment, it gets tossed, right?
Yeah.
I do fevers, I do coughing, I do stuff to remove stuff off my body that's no longer in alignment with who I am. She does the same thing, right? All right, you guys, you're a Cancer on top of me, so get your shit together and you can stay. Otherwise, you got to go.
Yeah. And it's, Lou, I have to, again, sort of touch back on when we first met about how you shared about, you introduced this concept to me. I don't know if you know that, but you introduced, I mean, maybe I heard it and you brought it into a bigger, more solid consciousness for me. But this idea that our physical body holds emotional energetics and holds emotional pain, and that a huge part of healing is that working with and listening to our body, to, even though we don't understand the connection per se, we don't know, but trusting the messages our physical body is giving us, and knowing that they likely connect to some energetic pain point or some emotional pain point that is looking for healing. So I just really, really appreciate that. I never forgot it. And I always would touch back on it in conversations where it would maybe make sense to talk about that. And it led me to more learning around that stuff. The body keeps the score, like tons. I mean, I recommend that to every client I have now. It's just, anyway, I just really appreciate that. And I appreciate you in the world as a voice for this, so that more people can grow and heal.
100%. Thank you. Thank you. And on that conversation, ladies and gentlemen, what Mel was just saying, even prior to what she just shared there, which is, it wasn't that we just don't have the tools, my experience anyways. They were intentionally trained out of us.
Yeah,
right?
fair.
about we're too stupid to understand what's going on in our body. We must rely on the so-called experts and the models. And that's the biggest lie on the planet, right?
Yep.
You are a sentient being and this is your domain, right? Take ownership of it, learn about it. As you're saying,
Yeah.
get this assistance, right? Get the people
Mm-hmm.
to start helping you remember who you be and what you are capable of across the border, from healing to success to the love, right? Because
Yep.
as Mel was talking about, until we start unplugging from the stories about right, the beautiful book written years ago, Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements. And I
Yeah.
just love
Amazing.
I just love the beginning of the book, which he talks about the domestication of the human being. And in that concept of, we all show up, well, mostly because some people have a really horrible entry, so it's already gone, but most people show up in their hearts loving as an
Yep.
infant.
Yep.
And then this energy is like, oh, love, right? And so we live in it, we thrive for it. Yet, when we reach out in that state and it's not accepted, oh no, well, I did something wrong. So we
Mm-hmm.
start changing in order to show up and behave differently to get the acceptance, what we think is love, right? So we
Yep.
keep
Yep.
up that pattern, and now we've sold ourselves in order to be connected and loved. And it's not even love, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I share with my clients, you can grow up and be a thermometer or a thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
And a thermometer means you're going to let the external world, people, places, and things always dictate how you get to be, feel, and behave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that just sucks, having done that
Oh,
for years, right? It's like, oh my
oh.
God, today you like me, tomorrow you don't. Wow, up and down. Boo.
Mm-hmm.
When you learn to set the tone of your own life, that's called freedom. That's a thermostat.
Yeah.
And nothing from the
Absolutely.
outside gets to deviate what you choose to do, love and love, right? So that's the life by design. Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. That's exciting to me. I
Ah,
love that we're expanding on the introductory idea, right? The mission, the core mission, right, of Project 19, of the things that we're doing with the skydiving, using it as a vehicle to amplify social impact and all this stuff. Living a bold, brave life of your own design. That is a very intentional phrase, because we could easily say, and listen, sometimes I cut it because it makes more sense and whatever, but like living a bold, brave life, sure, it can be implied of your own design, but we want it to be very clear that it is of your own, that is a possibility for you.
mm,
You know what I mean?
mm,
So I love that you're taking it even deeper and helping people figure out how to do that.
mm,
You know what I mean? Because it's one
mhm.
thing to be like, it's possible.
Right.
Woo! Right? Hashtag life coach. Here we are. It's possible. Go team, all this stuff. And listen, that's great too
Yep.
when people know what to do. But when you put an inspirational tenant into someone's life and then they're like, well, great, but what do I
What
fucking
do I
do
do
with
with
that?
this? Yeah.
What do I do with it? Yeah. That's why I love that, like, of their own design. Yeah. That's where you start leaning in and learning more, because if you don't know how to do it, what do you do? Well, you try to figure out how. You start learning, you start, like I said, Googling, you start asking friends, you start listening to podcasts, you start whatever.
Yeah. You just thank you. And just your sharing energetically just popped this memory. So, uh, I'm one of nine, and I grew up in a very traditional family in all kinds of sense, but especially around quote unquote healthcare. My mom was director
Mm-hmm.
of nurses. Two of my sisters were nurses, right? So I grew up in the allopathic model, like the majority of the Western world,
Yep.
in this case, deeper. And so when I had my transformation, I left a lot of the models, and that was one of them. And so when my kids were born, they were all born at home. And my firstborn was a beautiful girl. And uh, I chose to raise her consciously with
Love
full
that.
empowerment. So she's now in kindergarten, and her first day, the phone rings. Phone rings. Dr. Corletto, this is so and so, Brianna's teacher, and I just wanted to let you know that we were having a discussion, and I was explaining to the kids that how they might get sick and germs cause disease, and Brianna raised her hand and said, "That's not true." kindergarten, right? I'm like, oh shit, this is kindergarten.
Right.
This is gonna be a long road, kid. Yet I share that because so that is my and her
Amazing.
reality, right? That it's without getting to the story behind that, the empowerment. Here's this young girl who
Yes.
no, not only did somebody tell her you can't do that, it was please do it.
Mm-hmm.
Show up as your big bad self, right? So then I had to have the
Yeah.
conversation like, look, I know this is going to be hard for you to comprehend at
Mm-hmm.
6. You know stuff that your teachers don't know,
Mm.
but they're going to teach you stuff that you don't know, like math, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so at 6, this is going to be a journey for you, kiddo, right? Because you have
Ah,
awareness around life and health and spirit that your teachers don't know. They're 40 and they don't know. You have more consciousness around this, but you're going to school to get the basic stuff of 3D Earth, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, this place of
Use your
bold,
voice.
brave lives of our own design,
Mm-hmm.
and especially that you're choosing to serve communities
Mm-hmm.
of the population who
Mm-hmm.
have been disempowered for so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So thank you for your courageous act of doing that.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And
Thank you.
it is the thing. I said this a bit earlier, but it is not the world record. It is the bigger mission. It is doing something bigger than ourselves,
Yeah.
which can also, in a way, for some sound really cliche. But when you are living into something that you feel genuinely connected to on a deeper level, that you believe and know is going to be of higher service in the world beyond yourself, it's a different kind of fulfillment that you
Yeah.
get from stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It's just, and it's a different level of motivation.
Yeah.
You know, it got me through going to 19,000 feet and sucking oxygen and being afraid and putting on my rig every time and walking to the loading area and putting my earplugs in and putting my helmet on and visualizing on the way up, putting my seatbelt, like standing up, looking at my teammates who are lined up in front of me, hearing the exit count, running toward the tailgate and leaving. It's incredible how much we all need that at
Mm.
whatever level of experience we may have. And that's another part of validating it. Cause I feel like people can look at someone maybe like me who's done a lot. I've achieved a lot. I've done a lot of big things. I've spoken on a lot of big stages and think that it's just easy for me.
Right. Right.
Just easy
She's
for
born
me.
that way.
And I'll tell you, it gets easier. It gets easier. I am not as nervous on a big interview and as I used to be. I'm not as nervous skydiving in certain environments. In a world record environment like what we did in Project 19, that was like the height of like, whoa,
Yeah.
super super intense, definitely triggered all my stuff, and I expected it to. I was ready for it. I was training to work with it because I knew it was going to be there. Um, so it does get better. The iteration of working with our fear over time is what helps us feel more masterful. Doing the things that we don't think we can do, that opens our mind to our own capability. And so, like, every time I hear, oh, I don't think I could do that, it's just that doesn't it just that thought never stops me anymore, like literally never, because I know I'm going to hear it.
Right.
I know I'm going to hear that thought, and I know I don't need to listen to it. Does it mean I'm not going to feel afraid? I'm going to feel, most likely I'm going to feel afraid. And so it's just, I love that perspective of fear where it feels like you really can, in my experience, you can get more and more masterful with it. You can learn how to breathe. You can learn how to adjust your mindset. You can learn how to put different thoughts into your brain that keep you from cycling down and ruminating into a negative spiral. Like there are ways
For
to
sure.
interrupt this stuff. And anyway,
Yeah.
I could go on and on as
Yeah. Yeah.
always.
Right. So Joseph Campbell's beautiful, the cave you fear to enter is, where the gold lies, right? Is where the gems
Yeah.
are. Yeah. So, Mel, I know you've got so many things to complete. Clients to see the rest of the day. I just looked up. We're coming to the top of the hour. So to honor your time and the listening audience, um, one, what would you like to leave them with? And two, so ladies and gentlemen, I'll have all Mel's contact information, right? So you can go to her site and tap into her. Please step into her world, right? Get it. She's got 3 beautiful books. She's got a podcast, lots of resources on the website, her writings, the blog. So, and she's a wealth, as you've already heard, right? A wealth of information, but depth. Really, that's the place, right?
Yeah.
And what she just spoke to for all of us is do the work. That's why it gets,
It's exciting.
I wouldn't say easier. You just get more comfortable with it, right? Comfortable with being uncomfortable, I should say.
Yep.
It's doing the work. That's all. Just keep doing the work. But it takes the first step.
Yeah.
And then when that gets scary, have somebody in your corner, right? So when you do fall down, quit, knock down, they can, hey, come on, man, get back up. It's okay, right?
Yeah.
We can wipe the blood off. Let's go again, right?
Exactly.
Let's go again. Yeah. So in closing, first of all, thank you so much for one, who you be, and that you said yes to the calling of your life. Because as you started your life, you could have stayed in corporate and just had a great life of the, all things are working. I've got the house in the yard and the half the picket fence and all the stats we're supposed to have. Yeah. And you went, there's something more.
Yeah.
And you said yes to that. And now you're living to that yes in a profound way. So thank you for being the guiding light for all of us. Thank you for showing me and all the beautiful people that you're inspiring. So and so in that note, how would you like, what's a gem or an offering to the people, like however you want to wrap up?
Thank you, my friend. I receive that. I feel that. I have tears of love coating my eyeballs in true gratitude for that reflection. I feel that. Thank you. We talked about a lot of stuff today, and one thing that we didn't talk about, I want to leave people with, and that you can get this with, like Lou said, if you go to my stuff, you'll certainly feel this about me. But I think this is very important, especially when we are asking people to be bold and brave, and especially when we're asking people to do the work. That is hard to do. Doing the work and being brave and doing it iteratively over time and years and years, and living your life and being a person that is really, can be for many, it has been for me, very, very difficult. Why I say that is that life is also freaking ridiculous. Like we are ridiculous, like human beings, humanity, like the human experience. It's also like pure and utter like comedy. And so I invite people to embrace the nonsense of what it is to be a human, what it is, and just enjoy the lightness of what life it's there's one of the songs at the end of ceremony, and one of the deeper ceremonies that I did this last summer ended with this hilarious song called Life is a Joke, which sounds really bad, but it's really this wonderful sentiment of having us not take things quite so seriously, because we can be fierce and serious as you get. And I'm saying this from experience. I am wildly intense and focused and intentional about what I do and how I show up most of the time. And that doesn't mean I also can't really have fun with what I'm doing. I can't laugh, have jokes, bring lightness. I've seen it time and time again through my work as a life coach, where we're doing really intense work. And you know what? You just need a little joke. You just need a little lightness. You just take the steam out of the pot. That doesn't change doing the work, right? So growth work is only sustainable when we allow for that as well. And so that's what I would like to leave people with. And I just, other than massive gratitude to you, my friend. And I love that we did this, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Brilliant. Balance it out with, 100%. The old saying that angels can fly because they take themselves lightly.
That's so true. So true.
Brilliant piece. Thank you. And again, Mel, thank you for taking your time to be here today and for sharing with us.
Love you, my friend.
And for all you do. Yeah. And until we cross paths again, abundant blessings.
Yes.
Cool. Thank you for tuning in to the Tao Living Podcast. the art of living. Now go to loucorletto.com, LOUCORLETO.com, to receive your free training, the operator's manual for your vehicle. See, when you buy a phone, you get a manual. When you buy a car, you get a manual. When you entered your body, no manual. Let me teach you how it's really designed to work. Also, help me help others and share this podcast far and wide. And subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, abundant blessings.